According to the Manchester Evening News, dated the 6th of October, Paul Ormerod, who heads up Rochdale Council, backed Rochdale Development Agency, said at the Conservative Party conference that Rochdale does not want any more affordable houses because the council gets no money from it. He went on to say that he wanted unaffordable houses and that they were deliberately creating homes that were expensive for the area. According to the Evening News, when talking about Manchester residents and their housing costs, he stated, "We want some of them to come and live around Rochdale Station, where they can get it for half price at the cost of a 15-minute train journey." Can the leader tell us if Bury Council has adopted a similar approach? If the leader does not agree with this policy, please can he explain why Bury Council are not following the lead of Salford and Manchester councils who are planning to build genuinely affordable housing available at social rent on brownfield land that they own, rather than selling the brownfield land off to housing developers and only assisting for the majority of these sites that developers provide 20 to 25% affordable rents, which are based on the local housing allowance for Bury.
Thanks, Councillor. I'm tempted to say I never trust anything coming out of Conservative Party conference, but I appreciate your question because I think it's a genuine issue that we should be aware of. Because I mean, I can't comment on Rochdale, but what I can say in Bury, direct to your question, is we've done our housing needs and demand assessment. We've done our housing strategy. It's objectively clear that there is an acute shortage of affordable housing. It's a genuine issue. Many people in different parts of the borough really do struggle with it. So we absolutely have to have as much affordable housing as we can reasonably get in the current broken housing market. To that end, we've put it squarely at the heart of the housing strategy to try and get a mix of different types of affordable uses. Now, it is absolutely true, and we've had this debate multiple times, I think, in this chamber, that there are some definitions of affordable housing which, to the vast majority of people, are not affordable. I was looking at some in Prestwich, and it was an affordable housing scheme, and I think it was £230,000. Really, really challenging for most people to be able to afford that. So there's an obvious flaw in some of the definitions around affordability. Thankfully, what we're trying to do is we are trying to use as many of the different types of affordability and the different types of definitions around affordability as we can in some of our housing supply and in what we're trying to deliver ourselves. So to your point about Manchester and Salford, they've looked at obviously one way of doing that. They've gone through that process of setting up companies and trying to do that direct development. If you look at what we're doing, and I think we've got some great examples later on in the cabinet tonight, we've tried to look at that mix of need for affordable housing and actually then try and deliver it. So if you take the Wheatfield site in Whitefield, it's 30 units, 100% affordable, bungalows. So it's not just strictly about affordability, it's about type of housing as well. Really meeting a demand for that type of living in Bury. If you look at the two in Radcliffe, collectively we're going well above the 25% target. We're I think at 55% of affordability on both of those sites taken together. And again, one clearly more targeted at that family living, the other more targeted at that town centre, younger demographic. So in just those three sites, I think we're actually indicating a real desire and ability to actually meet some of those challenges of affordability. Would we like to go further? Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things missing in all of the solutions around housing is the lack of social housing being built. It's a genuine issue. I think we can actually all agree on that. I think it crosses increasingly political divides. There is a shortage. We do need to build more. The current system clearly does not allow for that, encourage that, support that. A lot more needs to change for us to really get to that point of building genuinely affordable social housing again. Until we get to that point, we are doing as much as we can though. So I do take seriously your question. It's a really important one that we should be addressing, and I hope tonight we're showing that we are actually doing that. Open to you for a supplementary though.
Yeah, just looking at the local housing allowance, which is what you base affordability on. If you look at that, a 2-bedroom house is £477 per calendar month. That's anywhere in Bury, irrelevant. And a 3-bedroom is £593. I worked them out by calendar months because they're given by weeks, but everybody works in calendar months. If you look at housing itself, a significant cost to the building of housing is the land itself. I looked at one today and it was 4 houses, it was 250,000, so it's about £60,000 per house. I know some of them will be less than that, but it's quite a significant amount of the house. So if you used your own brownfield land, which you actually currently own, if you use brownfield land, then you're taking out the cost of the land itself. By doing that, you can actually afford to build the houses cheaper. And basically, this is what Salford and Manchester are doing. So they're able to build them at a rent that they can provide affordable rent, social rents rather than affordable rents. Now, if you look at a social rent in Bury, it would be for a 1-bedroom house, it'd be 1-bedroom flat, sorry, it'd be 283. For a 2-bedroom flat, it would be 343. That is getting much closer to what most people would consider affordable if it's a young couple, because it's okay if people are on housing support, but a lot of people aren't, and they're young couples and they're trying to get somewhere to live for the first time. So we do need social housing, I think.
Just to say, I do acknowledge and support that. I think what Councillor Tariq and I saw when we were doing the work on the Red Vales estate was, a housing company saying, well, it's all in line with the local housing allowance, and therefore, but for many of those families, it was not affordable, and it was going to really put a pressure on there, never mind where they were previously, but even just going up to that amount was going to really be tough for them, and they were going to struggle. You are right about brownfield. It has certain advantages, but I think what we've seen in some of our trickier brownfield sites is you do need to attract that subsidy up front to remediate them, get them prepared. We have been successful in doing that. It has unlocked, for instance, School Street. We're confident of being able to unlock the East Lancashire paper mill later this year as well, working with Homes England. We've also got Fletcher Fold and Wheatfields again. So we are using that subsidy to bring forward, hopefully, more than the market would do. And I think that's the challenge for us. Can we actually prove that a local authority being involved in this is better than the market delivering it? I think on the basis of the things tonight, we are showing that. 100% affordable in Whitefield, 75% affordable in Green Street, and 25% on School Street, with actually some prospect of the council taking back ownership of those sites, of some of the houses on that site, where we can actually go further than the market would, potentially looking at things like social rent or specialist housing for vulnerable groups. So that's the real test for us. Can we prove that we're doing it better than the market would deliver? And I think we can show that, but I think we all agree we'd love to go much further, and we'd love to get that real scale of social housing built again. We don't usually take comments or questions, but if you be brief, I'll let Councillor Quinn come in.
We also need to look at housing, modern methods of construction. You're getting into winter now. You can't lay bricks when it's cold, when it's raining, sometimes when it's too hot, or when it's dark. With a factory, you can run it 24/7. If you can get factories using modern methods of construction, if you can start building them houses, and I was going to say after the war when we did it, when we basically, the industry was building bombers, tanks and planes, was converted into making prefabs, you can get economy of scale to get the price down, and also you won't have the defects that you have with a lot of traditional builders, and I'm being kind there. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Quinn. It was a key point from the visit with the Housing Minister, who was very keen on exploring options around modern methods of construction. And so we said, we'll do as much of that as we can. As you say, the market is still actually quite early days and not always more affordable, but the more commitment and advancement around that, hopefully the lower the costs and the more likely we can move towards that. But I also took the opportunity with the Housing Minister to raise exactly that point about social housing. You know, we had a lot of conversations about home ownership and about affordability, but there wasn't really anything about social housing. So I did make that point at that time, and I think he listened, he was receptive. I hope he'll come back with some thoughts about that as soon as possible. Right, we do have 2 further questions. They're not in attendance, so we will read them out, but there won't be supplementaries.